and the convener, Country First Movement. Good morning, Dr. Nwakobia. Good to have you join us on the morning show. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve. It's my pleasure to be on. You're looking so good. Adesua, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much, Chris. Let's talk the issues of the moment. And of course, we should start with yesterday's local government elections, particularly in Abuja. There were others, a few others, to fill certain positions in the local government jurisdiction in Kano and in Rivers State. But of course, all eyes were on the Federal Capital Territory, given the importance, that Abuja holds as our FCT. My question to you will be, did you participate? I'm not sure if that's where you're registered to vote, but I know that it is your base in some ways. And if you did, how did it go? What's your assessment of what went down yesterday? It was work-free day on the eve of the election. And then on the election day, for the first time in recent years, for a local government election, there were no movements. What are your thoughts as to what happened, particularly given the background of the new law, the Electoral Act 2026, that was just signed into law by the president just a couple of days before the election? Your thoughts, Chris?
Steve, good morning once again. I want to say that your information was a bit right, but I'm based here in Abuja. I shuttle between Lagos and Abuja. I registered here long ago. I voted in Abuja. In 2011, when I ran for the high office of president, I voted here in Abuja, in Wuse, precisely. And so my voting constituency, if you like, is here in Abuja. And I was able to see quite a lot of what happened yesterday. And it borders the carapace of my mind to think that the red flags are monstrous, particularly concerning and towards 2027 elections. You said in your analysis about the elections, Dito, Kano, Rivers, and Abuja, you did talk about the apathy. There was monstrous apathy, and that's because Nigerians are largely losing faith in the electoral process. Nigerians are largely losing faith in the umpire, the INEC. Nigerians are beginning to make popular the cliche that he who votes is not necessarily what counts, but he who counts the votes. And I hope that Amupito's INEC rises to the challenge. I hope that Amupito's INEC puts a lie to this common phraseology, and I hope that we rise up to the urgency of now. But besides that opening remark, what is important is to clearly say, Steve, that in some polling centers where INEC has as much as about 600 registered voters, they didn't have up to 50 voters who came out to vote. In some places, they didn't have more than 10 voters who came out to vote. And again, that is because Nigerians are increasingly losing faith in the political process. Nigerians are beginning to doubt whether our democracy truly stands true to terms with what it should be, the government, according to Abraham Lincoln, the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And as I speak to you, Steve, it does bother me. I hope that between now and the next elections, we'll begin to build faith in the process. I hope that political parties will rise up to the urgency of now. I hope that politicians will rise up to begin to do certain things that will inspire faith in the democratic process. I hope that governance will take this as a point of challenge, because particularly when you talk about the Federal Capital Territory, you did emphasize the importance of the Federal Capital Territory. This is the seat of government of Africa's most populous nation. This is the seat of government of Africa's biggest nation. This is the seat of government of Africa's largest democracy. But very unfortunately, you saw what your Arise resource person, Tia, posted yesterday regarding Asokoro. About 18 polling centers barely had people who came there to vote. And it is indeed worrisome. it is indeed troubling. And I truly do think that government must take responsibility. The civil society must take responsibility. The political class and indeed political parties must take responsibility. And we must all rise up to the urgency of now. Because congruent with whatever you call democracy is the freedom of participation. It's how people participate. It's the excitement, if you like, of those who are out there. And the faith in the electoral process. If the electoral process is doubtful, if people have reason to doubt the sincerity of the process, the integrity of the process, then we're all in trouble.
Thank you. As Mr. Steve said earlier, do you believe that possibly our voter register might be bloated? And maybe this is not just about apathy, but maybe our numbers are higher, are lower than what we think they are?
No, at this way, I really don't think that is about bloated numbers. I think it's sizably and largely about the apathy. I tell you why I think that that's the case. Everywhere I drove through in Abuja yesterday, I found out that most people were either playing or perhaps at home. You see the streets. There was no movement, but there was indeed movement around the hoods, and people were largely uninterested. And it is indeed troubling. It is indeed worrisome. And then, you know why? Permit me a bit of peek into the past. After the 2023 elections, when the cliché became go to court, Nigerians began to largely lack faith in the electoral process. It was simply about our votes not seemingly counting and the courts going to tell us who actually won. And like I said, that popular phraseology, I think it was Stalin or so who made that quote, and then it became common over the years. It's about he who counts, ironically, in our democracy is largely about he who counts the votes, not necessarily about those who vote. And I think that we must change this cliché if we want to deepen the frontiers of democracy. We must deepen this cliché. We must make wrong this cliché if we must make our democracy work. We must interrogate the entire process. And that's why I said I pity Professor Amopiton. I pity INEC, because when we come to the issues about the new Electoral Act, I'll tell you why I largely pity him. Because very unfortunately, the National Assembly passed a rogue Electoral Act that permits roguery. They passed a law that gives INEC reason for failure. They passed a law that, very unfortunately, people are wont to addressing the issues simply only about real-time transmission of election results, and have left the fundamental issues about the lifespan of campaign period, which was shortened, about how many months it would take the government to release funds to INEC. If you reduce it from 1 year, 12 months to 6 months, then you're invariably saying to INEC, you can come before Nigerians and say, this was the reason we failed. So there's an ambush, a very strong ambush, albeit very surreptitiously, for failure. And that's why I worry largely about 2027.
I get your point, Chris, and I was going to ask you, the voter apathy, if with what has happened in Abuja yesterday, and I can bet that it will be the same situation in Kano and in Rivers State, if not worse, what therefore can be done, particularly in the light of the reality of the new Electoral Act? I would like you to tie it to the series that you wrote earlier this year. I believe that you stopped about 4th or 5th edition of fallacies, forgeries, and fakery. Now that the electoral law has become a reality, and it's obvious that you are not comfortable with a couple of clauses in that law, will you write another edition of in the series to pour out your disappointment in what has happened?
Steve, apparently you're clairvoyant. Part 5 of the series is in the mail, because when you look at what is actually happening, when you look at the new Electoral Act and the speed with which, albeit Nicodemously, our president signed it into law, you worry and then you ask yourself, what are they about? And I want to say very clearly and without fear of querulous critics that the APC and the chief strategist, those who believe and who are standing on the mandate of the president, have always told us that Mr. President is a master strategist. And clearly, in all that happened in the National Assembly due to the amendment of the Electoral Act and the new Electoral Act, you will actually understand that there is profound strategy, albeit in the breach, albeit very unpatriotic, albeit taking our electoral regime backward by close to 50 years. And I said this clearly without any sense of doubt. I said, Steve, the reason why and permit me answer this question this way, the reason why we have new parties and political parties emerging, the reason why we have the DLA, Democratic Leadership Alliance, which of course if you look at my cap here, you will see with a golden pen as a symbol. The reason why we have people who are saying that we must make leadership responsible and responsive is because, Steve, patriots and statesmen are concerned about the next generation, while very unfortunately politicians are often concerned about the next election. And for them, it's all about the next election. It's not about the credibility of the electoral process. That is why they don't even care whether there is monstrous apathy in the electoral process. That is why they don't even care whether people trust the electoral umpire. That is why they don't care whether Nigerians come out to vote. What is important to them is that they will contest, and no matter how, they will be declared as winners and they will be sworn in. And that is a challenge that we all collectively have. And like you noted in your question, that is why there is large apathy. So what must we begin to do? Steve, I speak for the Democratic Leadership Alliance as one of the two new political parties. And Steve, what I'm saying here is commitment to the nation, commitment to our democracy, and commitment to the masses of our country and indeed the future. Why am I saying this, Steve? If we don't build a democracy that is responsible and responsive, if we don't build a democracy that believes in the due process, if we don't build a democracy that holds up to integrity, then we're all in trouble, because rogues, the worst of us, will continue to rule over the best of us, and that is a tragedy of sorts. So going forward, I know that the way to defeat the R party in the political space is to begin to make first the electoral process one of integrity and huge credibility. And that is what the National Assembly and the presidency lost in the speed with which they signed to law an electoral act that does not represent and reflect the aspirations of the Nigerian people. Steve, permit me jump into these fundamental issues. The new Electoral Act refused the real-time or premium time transmission of election results. And I say this clearly, some people tilt towards the proviso. But you know why there is a proviso? The proviso is because they actually do not want to transmit elections real time. Because the lies that they have told you and I is not tenable. If you transmit via the beavers to the IRF, even if there's no network, Steve, like when I send you a WhatsApp message, it will deliver once there's network. So the argument about, there might not be network, so it won't deliver, is surreptitious, delusional, wicked, impious, and impish. They are deliberately trying to frustrate the aspirations and the wishes of the Nigerian people. It is rogue. They are trying to rig the next election. And clearly what is playing out, are you aware that in the Abuja Municipal Council and several others, the elections that took place yesterday, that the IRF, quote unquote, has been jammed? Are you aware that they're saying the argument is that, they cannot transmit to the IRF? That is their hubris. That is their way of wanting to rig, and they're practicalizing it with what is happening today in Abuja. Steve, I worry for our country, and I hope the media rises up to the urgency of now. I hope that the political class rises up to the urgency of now. I hope that statesmen begin to speak up, because if we do not, the 2027 general election stands rigged.
All right. Before we let you go, I like the fact that you spoke about the Democratic Leadership Alliance, DLA. That's the cap you're wearing, you said. Is that correct, Chris?
That's right.
Okay, so
That's correct.
DLA actually is the only party that INEC sort of registered out of the 171.
One of the two.
Well, the second one, the NDC.
One of the two.
NDC, Chris, Nigeria Democratic Congress, was registered, due to a court order. But in terms of the ones that INEC verified out of the 171 requests that they received last year, DLA was the only one that INEC actually said, passed all the entire test, ticked all the boxes. NDC,
the
because
product of diligence, Steve. The product.
Which is
diligence.
Which is my question.
The product of hard work.
Which therefore is my
product of diligence.
Okay,
yes.
just hold on a minute. So that leads me to the question: what is it about DLA? Who is behind DLA? And a lot of people will have thought that you will have joined your man, Mr. Peter Gregory Obi, as you like to call him, in going to the ADC. But here you are speaking glowingly about DLA. Is DLA your party, or is it the backup for Mr. Peter Obi for 2027?
Steve, DLA is the People's Party. DLA belongs to the Nigerian people. DLA belongs to the Nigerian youths. If you go to our website, Steve, DLA Nigeria, www.dlanigeria.org, you will see faces of vibrant Nigerian youths. Those who believe in the future, those who believe that we must make real the promises of democracy, those who believe that we must secure the future, which is our motto, and those who believe that we must lead with courage and serve with integrity. And Steve, I say without fear of querulous critics that when the Labour Party began to show that he who pays the piper truly calls the tune, when their Abure leadership began to derail on fundamental issues, and I took him on, in line with the call for true democracy in the Labour Party, people came out. Initially, my friend and elder brother, Peter Gregory Obi, was uncomfortable with a few of the things, because I began the whole process for the call for the removal of Julius Abure as the Labour Party. But that's history now. When issues about parties and the evolution of parties became fundamentally strong, I said to my brothers and I, several young people, Barrister Sam, Meme, and several other people, we cannot continue to wait for individuals and political parties that will be largely manipulated and machinated. Let us go on a process of registering our own party, a party that truly belongs to the Nigerian people, a party that is truly ideological, a party that truly moves from bottom to the top, a party that truly goes through 774 local governments and across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. And we began a strenuous, arduous, taxing process of getting people across the country to run this course with us. Today, like you noted, we were found the only worthy of over 100 political associations that wanted to be registered as a party that got the nod from INEC. And no big weights, no money bag, no billionaire came along with us. It was our hard work, it was strenuous, it was commitment to our nation. And like I said, Steve, patriots concern themselves about the future. Statesmen are always concerned about the next election. And I'll tell you, Steve, across our country, obedience, articulates, young people everywhere who truly believe that we must bet a new nation are with us. And we are open to those who truly think that the time to build a nation that works for all is now. And I want to say clearly, Steve, that the journey to a new nation and a new Nigeria that works for all is now, and it begins with us. You know, I am committed. DLA is committed. The Nigerian young people are committed to building a country that meets their expectations. And God on the side of our country, patriots will begin to join with us, and we'll transform the jangling discord of inanity, want, despondency, disease, and decay to an awesome, monstrous, wonderful symphony of brotherhood, of greatness, and of patriotism.
All right, Chris, very well said. But just to clarify before we let you go finally, DLA, all you did was to inform Mr. Obi that you will be proceeding with a new party. You didn't ask him to come along.
No, I think this is where you lose your clairvoyancy. We didn't have to seek an approval or inform him. He was surprised that we actually, because everybody thought, like you noted, that I will be with the ADC. Everybody thought that I will be one of the leaders of the ADC. But I looked at it and I said, a mishmash of persons and characters, and that not deforming the ADC, because we are also looking at the possibility of a rainbow coalition of political tendencies and aspirations for a country that works for all. Clearly, Steve will admit that this administration has failed. Clearly, Steve will admit that the ruling party is less than democratic. Clearly, we admit that this government has been good on paper and less in practice. And we know that we need a nation that works for the good of all. So, all right.
I don't know
what
if
are we saying?
We can all admit to that. I think that's your stance.
Did you get at this point?
But that's the truth. You know, so going forward, I think that this is not the time to disparage any of the parties, but what we're saying is that Nigerians must truly own a platform, and the Nigerian youths truly own the DLA. Right. Nigerian youths, and indeed obedience, articulates, and people from all tendencies truly own the future through the DLA, and that's what we're working on. You know, believing that when we work together, rather than agonize, if we organize, the future that we seek and crave will be a reality.